This is Occult Pop, where we look at popular culture through an occult lens. I'm Guy Quintero, and this is my co-host,
Danica, Simone.
and we are Arcana District. Please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel because it really helps out a lot, and we're trying to grow this community to have one big happy family sharing in our occult, arcane, and spiritual studies together.
Today we're talking about Good Boy.
Yeah, that was an awesome horror movie, and it was starring a dog.
The whole movie, it's a horror paranormal movie from the perspective of a dog.
Yeah, and it was wonderful because animals are hypersensitive to what happens on the ethereal planes. And I have a theory, not one that I can prove, but I have a theory that they are able to see it despite the fact that we can't, due to being dumbed down and also being conditioned away from the spiritual realms.
If not see it, definitely sense it.
Yeah.
They can hear things. Their senses are much more heightened than ours are. Their hearing is more sensitive. They have a sense of smell that our smell is nowhere near as good as theirs. So just a quick synopsis of Good Boy. Good Boy is a 2025 American supernatural horror film directed by Ben Leonberg. The film follows Indy, the dog, as he attempts to rescue his owner, a young man with a chronic lung disease who is engulfed by a supernatural presence lurking in his late grandfather's rural home. Leonberg conceived the idea after rewatching Poltergeist and noting the horror trope of dogs sensing the presence of ghosts before humans. He decided to write a traditional haunted house film from the perspective of a dog. The film was shot over a 3-year period, which was about 400 days worth of filming. The film was a commercial success, grossing $8.7 million on only a $70,000 budget. That's amazing. It was an indie film. I don't think it was in theaters, like all theaters. I think it was just in select theaters. But yeah, that's good for them. That's amazing.
Wow, that is amazing.
In 2012, Leonberg conceived the idea for a supernatural horror film framed from a dog's perspective after rewatching Poltergeist, in which the central family's dog is the first to sense the presence of ghosts, and realizing that it was a trope among other horror films centered around a haunted house. Leonberg also cited The Shining as an influence for Good Boy, noting that both films question whether the characters' seemingly supernatural experiences are genuine or products of their psychological state, and feature endings open to interpretation. Leonberg envisioned the film as a tribute to dogs and their relationship with humans. The film was directed by Leonberg in his feature directorial debut and produced by his wife, Carrie Fisher, or how did you say it?
Kari Fisher?
Carrie Fisher. Not sure how you pronounce it.
We covered both ways. So.
Yeah, just in case, covering all bases. And they cast their dog. It is their dog to play the main role, Indy. So it was really just the three of them most of the time doing the filming over the 3-year period or 400 days. Literally, the cast was like 4 people. And then I think they had a few camera crew.
That's awesome. And it probably took a lot of creativity as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great topic though, because animals are very sensitive to what happens on the other side. And I know for a fact that I've seen Nina hiss and get angry at things and see things that aren't there. And it's because they could see things on the other side. But in spiritual history and occult history, animals have always been at odds with negative entities, right? They've always been at odds with negative entities, and they've always obeyed God. God is their foremost master, but we were given dominion over them. They were kind of gifted to us, and they were unfortunately saddled with the burden of coming with us to the material plane after we fell from Eden. But there's one particular story that I can think of, and a lot of people may be familiar with this one. A man who was spiritually corrupted by a fallen angel taught false doctrines. And at first he thinks this angel is good. This angel's giving him a lot of nightmares. I think I've spoken about this individual before. The angel commands him to meet him in the mountain. So he goes up and meets his angel in the mountain, and the angel hands him some tablets, kind of mimicking God and Moses at Mount Sinai. And he hands him these tablets. And when The man tells the angel, I can't read. The angel punches him in the forehead and knocks him out. And when he wakes up, he's able to read, but he's terrorized and he leaves. So he goes back up later because the angel beckons him through dreams and nightmares to go back up to the mountains. He goes back up to the mountains and then he learns how to read. And then the angel instructs him, I will come to your home, in a couple of days. So he goes back and the guy waits a couple of days. The angel never shows up. He goes back up to the mountain again and he asks the angel, why don't you come to my home? He goes, because you have dogs in your compound. I found it very alarming when I read that because any angel can command an animal, any angel of the Lord at least can command an animal, but a negative angel, a fallen angel, cannot. And if an animal sees a fallen angel, it will lash out because there's a lot of bad blood between fallen angels and animals. So like I said, their loyalty is first and foremost to God and then to us.
Interesting.
It's just a magician's perspective on looking at things, but.
And what about demons? Like animals and demons?
Oh, animals sense demons the same way. They sense ghosts. They can sense everything. They are much, much more astute and attuned to the other players than we are. You have to remember, animals still have all their psychic gifts. They may not be as gifted as we are, but they still have them. They're still very refined, and they're still very familiar with them because they never fell.
I honestly wouldn't even call them psychic gifts. It's part of their normal, natural senses.
Very well said.
Yeah, they have their normal sense, like the same senses we have, the 5 senses, right? That's 5, right?
5 material
Yeah.
senses. Yeah.
5 material senses. And then they also naturally have a 6th sense. No one's ever told an animal that's not real.
Yeah, and that's magnificently put. And now, you put it like that. Yeah, we're the ones that are dumbed down. They're the ones that are still very much intact.
Even though they've been domesticated, they still have their natural senses.
Yeah.
And that 6th sense is just as strong as any other material sense.
And this is why they're able to bond to us as well, which was something that a lot of the witch hunters who, in my opinion, were corrupted by, we talked about the Luciferian infiltration of the church. Well, they went after the familiars of the witches as well. They went after the dogs and cats that live with these women and men who had the gift and who were murdered in cold blood during this age. And they would come up with these horrendous stories about, oh, it's a demon and it's not really a cat. It's not true. It's not true. It was just an animal that bonded to the human being. And there's actually ways to make this happen, to bond with the animal. I've heard so many ridiculous things, but really the animal has to decide to bond with you. And what happens is the animal begins to take on the traits of their master, familiar, and the master begins to take on the traits of the familiar, right? Of the animal that's bonding with them. And they start to kind of vibe on the same frequency, a familiar frequency, hence the term familiar. And in turn, through the other layers, they become 2 souls with the same frequency. It's a beautiful thing. And animals have been bonding with us. And the Bible talks about the bonds that animals have with us, especially with Adam. Adam had such bonds with animals. He's the one who actually named them and spent a lot of time with them in the Garden of Eden. And that ability still stands today. It's one of the things that Lucifer tries to tell us is a bad thing, hence the false dogma behind it, to try to separate us. It's all about separation. That's what the enemy's always trying to do: separate, divide, cause fear and negativity. But we are going to go in depth on the topic of familiars in a later episode if you are all interested in how that works and what that entails.
Yeah, I was going to say, to add on to what you said, the thing that makes this movie so incredible and impactful and unique is that it's the first horror movie that I'm aware of, at least, where it's completely from the animal's perspective.
Yeah,
It's so well done. It starts off subtle,
it is.
and the dog just picks up on these senses. There's not a lot of dialogue in this movie. It's really, you're just experiencing it and sensing it through the dog's perspective.
Yes.
It's very minimal dialogue. The dog is very expressive, and so it tells its own story really without needing to have any dialogue. I think that all the media and news articles or scientific articles that have come out that like say animals only, or like dogs only see in black and white, or they like play these things down. Like how could we even know how an animal experiences things, how they smell, how their sense of smell is, their eyesight, are they color blind? I think I've seen a study where they're like, dogs don't dream. Like so many things. And I feel like we're conditioned that if it just says like study shows or scientists say, like that's fact and we should absolutely believe it. You know what I mean? So I feel like with all those studies and scientific journals and articles that come out, we have been manipulated into believing that animals are simple-minded creatures and basic. Like they're not complex thinking or feeling creatures, okay? And so it's easier for us to write off the very subtle, odd behavior that our dogs and cats display, hissing at a corner or scratching at a door, scratching at a closet where no one's in there, you know, growling, grumbling, crying. And you're like, oh, maybe there's a smell. Maybe there's something, like, we try to rationalize it away, or it's easier for us to turn our back on it and say, oh, it's just weird animal behavior. But if you really pay attention, you'll notice that this is not normal behavior for your pet. You're with your pet all the time. You live with your pet. You know what its normal behavior is and what's not normal. So you need to really pay attention when you see your pet cat, pet dog, even birds. I mean, whatever pets you have, they will start acting weird, one-off things where you're like, that's not normal. And you need to listen to that because that is more often than not like the first warning sign before you even notice anything. Why are they acting so weird? So I absolutely loved this movie that it showed, a haunting with a demonic presence from the perspective of a pet. The pet that gets yelled at, told to shut up, go outside, lock it up in the yard because it's not acting right all of a sudden, instead of taking inventory and checking, why is my dog acting like that? You should be rewarding that behavior. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not saying reward the behavior for like, you don't want it to be like attacking strangers and stuff, like, but like you should acknowledge that with your pet and say, oh, what's that right there? And acknowledge that you understood what they were saying. Check it out. Be like, good boy. Thank you for showing that to me. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Yeah.
Instead of punishing the animal who was literally guarding you and warning you, there's something here.
I was mostly frustrated with how much the main character, the man, the owner, decided not to listen to the dog. Yeah, that goes back to human ego. We don't listen to, heck, we don't even listen to other human beings sometimes, most of the time. Yeah, not trusting his dog, thinking his dog is just, I mean, there was always a reason. If whenever Percy and Nina start doing something strange, and Nina's a cat, but whenever they start doing something odd, I try to take notice. Like, okay, why are they doing this? What's going on here? Right. And I mean, just the other day, Percy was growling at something in the corner in my living room. And I was like, okay, let me check this out, see what's going on there. And decided to just cleanse the entire place. In our line of work, you never know. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That's one of the frustrating things. And then the dog was clearly, distraught. And yeah, I think that you're absolutely right when you touch on that. Gotta listen. You gotta lower the ego. We don't always know best. Right. So dogs have sonic senses, are able to hear, see, smell, and experience things on the other layers much better than we can. So you gotta trust them. It's the reason why God put them in our lives.
Definitely. Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, if you want to, yeah, we're gonna do more about animal familiars on our flagship show, The Veil Between. So if you're interested in that, just please let us know. Hey, I want to learn more about magical familiars or spirit animals. Well, we could do 2 shows there.
Or even just pets in general, as far as like going deeper on this subject, in particular with pets, because pets, they don't have to be a familiar. They don't have to have a special connection to you other than the bond of a pet with their human, So that could be like 3 different episodes.
Yeah.
I've had several pets growing up and stuff where they did the most incredible things or they acted weird.
They're wonderful, aren't they? I love animals so
Yeah.
much.
Not every pet is a familiar.
Not every pet. No, it's extremely rare. A familiar is extremely rare when an animal decides to attune to you like that. It's something special. I've heard people trying to force it, and it usually ends up failing.
We should talk on the familiar episode how to get a familiar. or like how to like increase your chances of having a
Yeah.
familiar.
So thank you for joining us for this episode of Occult Pop.
If there is a specific movie or TV show that you would like us to discuss next, leave a comment, send us an email, or reach out on Discord.
Thanks for joining us, fam. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to help out the channel and help grow the community.